All right, guys. Let's take a look at number 5 real quick. And then I'll do 6 tomorrow during 5th period. I don't know if that was mixed up. In my head, it was 5 and then 6. All right. Given that every theory has its limitations, we need to retain a multiplicity of theories to understand the world. I go over the key words. Thank you, Alexa. So, need is the most important, meaning we cannot understand the world with only one theory. Okay, we need to retain a multiplicity of theories to understand the world. So if we don't have many theories, we can't understand the world. Can't understand the world with one theory is what this PT is saying. No theory is good enough. Okay, so this is an absolute. So all we have to do is say that.
Do you remember we saw
Bagels and donuts.
No.
So, all this is basically saying you cannot understand the world with one theory. So if we were to find a theory that could somehow help us understand the world, then we prove this wrong. I think obvious place that you would go with this would be religion as a theory that could understand everything about the world. If you're looking at the world through the lens of religion, then it's supposed to kind of do that. It's supposed to answer all the questions. But that's very specific. I think in most other areas, seems like we should have more than one. Limitations, does it mean weaknesses or errors? So every theory has its limitations. So is every theory weak or has errors, or it just can't be applied to everything? That's a question. What does it mean to understand the world? Obviously, it does not require that you know everything. So if I were to say, do you understand the world? I can't imagine that you would understand everything about the world. That would be difficult to understand everything about the world. So I think that we have to say to understand the world means that you are sort of at peace or okay with your current perception of how things are. Bless you. So, and then is it saying understand the world through an area of knowledge? So if I said to you, you need to understand the world, but do you understand the world through ethics? Do you understand the world through mathematics? Do you have a minimum requirement that must be met in order to say you understand the world? Or is it just that you can be said to understand the world if you are satisfied with yourself? I think that we have to have a low bar there and say, okay, I could understand the world of mathematics, even though I do not know a lot of mathematics. But if I understand the basics of how it applies to me, then I could be said as understanding the world. So that's a tricky part. Where do you actually understand the world? Is the world physical, mental, spiritual, all three? And what is the extent of multiplicity? They use a nice big word here. Does it mean just more than one? Or does it mean many theories? I think if you were to define it as many, then how many? Because it would seem at a certain point, if you're saying that I need to understand I need many theories to understand the world, I would feel like you were moving further away from understanding it. If you have, the more theories that you have, the more likely that they are going to conflict with one another. So I would think that it would make sense that if you had many, many theories, then it would be hard for you to get anything done in practice. Let's take ethics, for example. The two main theories in ethics are utilitarianism and Kantian categorical imperativism. So in utilitarianism, it's what is best for the most amount of people. Whereas as a categorical imperative, something is either right or wrong. It doesn't matter how many people it affects. Well, you couldn't live your life with both of those theories. You couldn't say that both of those theories were true at the same time. You would be contradicting yourself, and you wouldn't be able to act. Because if you were trying to make an ethical decision, and you said, well, this person, I don't know, should be, let's say a serial killer had killed many people, and then you're saying, okay, the world would be better off without this person, then we need to eliminate, who are you looking for?
Virginia and Mercedes.
Virginia and Mercedes. So if you were going to say, well, I want to make the world a better place because if we have this serial killer around, it's not a good place because what happens if he kills more people? So we say, okay, let's kill him. Death penalty. And that's usually where the death penalty arguments come from, is that it is a utilitarian perspective. It's better for us all to eliminate these bad people. But if you were to live by a categorical imperative, then it is always wrong to kill. And so you are then breaking your own moral code. Thank you, Bridget. If you kill... Hi, Bridget.
Hi. Bridget.
Hi, everyone else. Always remember. All right. So, you can't have too many theories. You're going to self-contradict. All right. So, in that sense, it almost would seem that the opposite was true. That perhaps to have only fewer theories, or even one theory, you could understand the world better. So, it kind of seems obvious. It seems obvious, this claim, except for in religion. The rest of it seems obvious that you should probably have more than one theory, because one theory is not going to be enough. Okay, now ethics has that self-contradicting aspect, but even most ethicists would tell you that categorical imperatives probably don't apply in all cases. So it's wrong to kill. It's wrong to kill somebody. But so then if somebody is going to kill you, are you going to say that the person who believes that it's wrong to kill always would then just allow that person to come and kill them or kill a family member? Yeah, they gave her a bunch of stuff, but my son had the flu shot. My daughter did not. So
you had Bogdan under period 6 here,
Yeah.
and you also had him in your period 1.
he's in 6 now. All right, quiet down. I won't go too much longer on this, but this is for the people that are writing on it. I'll post this so they can get some help. All right, so I said it seems obvious. Even in cases of ethics, you're going to have to say that you're going to need both theories, right? At a certain point, you're going to be confronted with a situation where you would have to apply the other theory. If you were only to live by categorical imperative, it's wrong to kill in all cases, and you go out and you're there with your family member, and somebody comes up with a gun, and is going to kill you, then you would have to say that you would let them kill you if you were to live by only one theory, and that seems ridiculous. So even in ethics, you're going to have two theories. Even in religion, although I would say that a certain religious doctrine, like if you were a certain branch of Catholicism, you would probably say if you were a member of that branch that you would want to live your life by the rules of that particular branch. But yet even in that case, your branch is typically a combination of ideas from other branches. So, I guess the only one, bless you, that I would say might be, if you were to say Roman Catholicism is a pretty strict set of rules. And you could say, okay, I understand the rules, I understand the world because I am a Roman Catholic, and that's what I believe, and that's what I'm going to live my life by. So I think religion is the only place that we could really go and comfortably say, I could understand the world and have one theory. And it's also because religion has a special place in life, in that it is sort of above the other areas, since everyone has a personal relationship with whatever their belief is. So religion is a place you could go. And it's an interesting approach that you might take. Religion is also something you typically want to stay away from in a TOK essay. So that's the other side to this. So although you may want to show an awareness of religion as possibly having this, I don't know if I would spend half my essay on religion. Okay? Biases are sort of rampant in religion, and even the most unbiased TOK examiner may be influenced by their own beliefs or taking offense to something that you might say. So, that being said, I would stay away from religion in general. But if you want to, that's not a bad place to go. So, if you know more theories, are you better off, or is it better to simplify? Is ignorance bliss? I think even in the other place most people are going to go with this, because there is literally a name of a theory of everything in physics, would be natural sciences. And there is the constant drive to unify a theory of everything. However, even in physics, where there's an attempt to have this, they still have not been able to get there. They've got general relativity that deals with things that are very big, and then quantum mechanics that deals with things that are very small. And the two of them don't work together. So even in a place where we are attempting to simplify and saying that the simplest explanation is always the best, it's still not possible. The smartest brains in physics and in science have not been able to figure this out. Okay? So, in that sense, it would be support for the idea that we need multiple. Because if you were to say, I'm only going to view the world of physics through quantum mechanics, then if you did count...
Look, he's recording that if you need to, like...
Oh, you're so adorable.
All right. All right, so quiet. I'm going to finish now. Sorry for all the interruptions. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, everyone's okay. Just mom stuff. All right, so like I was saying, physics is also attempting to do this. Incorporates general. So that'll probably be an overused example, okay? Kind of like the Copernican revolution. This theory of everything is probably overused. But then again, if you can show a little bit of an understanding of quantum mechanics versus general relativity, that's big brain stuff, so it might look good, okay? All right, can the golden rule be a foundation to live your entire life off of, or is it is going to be overruled by other ideas such as survival of the fittest? So the golden rule tends to be one we go back to: treat others as you would like to be treated. But survival of the fittest. The reality of the world is that you're going to have to step on some people, at some point in your life. There's not unlimited opportunities for everyone, and so if you were put in a situation where somebody is attempting to get the same thing that you are, you could, without doing anything too malicious, somehow be able to ensure that you got that opportunity as opposed to them. Some sort of political move, then you're going to do that. I would think, if you want to be successful. So, I don't think the golden rule is a place to go. Does the answer to this question depend on your chosen profession? So understand the world. Does it mean that what you've chosen to do for your life? Does it depend on that? So if you are a scientist, for example, is it important that you come to a decision on which you're going to use? Like, for example, I mean, if you're a quantum physicist, you don't really have much use for the theory of relativity because all your work is done in the minuscule, in the tiny, with protons and things like that. But if you are an astrophysicist, then you really don't have any need for quantum mechanics because it doesn't really apply to what you're doing on a daily basis. Same thing, let's say if you were a historian or an accountant and you're living in the world of numbers. And the way that you see the world is rational, logical, number-based. So this is a little bit maybe of a stretch, but I would say that your understanding of the world has a lot to do with the paradigm that you're living in. For example, the Pope. All right? If the Pope wants to understand the world, he should probably do it through the lens of Roman Catholicism. If he were to do it through Judaism, we'd think he was a strange pope. All right, so can there be multiple answers depending on what part of the world you are talking about? Family, love life, children, career, finances, education, etc., or depending on the AOK. Ethics maybe as a less is more example, and natural sciences as opposites, right? So ethics we want to minimize our theories, whereas natural sciences, you've got the two competing theories that I talked about, but there are many other theories in the natural sciences, and you should be aware of them if you are a responsible scientist. Whereas it would seem that, in ethics, the more theories that you were to add on, the more complicated and difficult it would be to make decisions. So, if we're talking about our entire world, I think it's pretty obvious that we can't just deal with everything with one theory. So if I say I want to understand my entire world, well, that's through all the areas of knowledge. Even me, a regular person out there, is somewhat subject to the rules of science. Cooking dinner, for example. requires a basic understanding of thermodynamics. And I need to know that if I want, I need to be able to know how to eat. And I have to understand finances and accounting and numbers, and I have to make ethical decisions. So that's kind of the obvious way. If you're saying understand the world means everything, then it seems pretty obvious that you have to have many theories because you're dealing with many AOKs. All right? So I think that's what you need to decide on with this PT. Are you dealing with understand the world as everything, which it kind of implies? Or are you dealing with it as in terms of a specific world that you've chosen? Even the Pope has to make some mathematical decisions at some point. I guarantee you that the Pope has to sign off on certain financial decisions that the church is making, since he's the head of the church. Okay? So if you're saying understand the world means everything, which you need to define at the beginning of the essay, then it seems pretty obvious you need more than one. Okay? But if you're talking about it sort of compartmentalized within an area of knowledge, then I would think you have a chance at simplifying to one theory, but it would be very difficult. Okay? So, those are my thoughts. I've got Dunn's thoughts, which I won't really try to translate, but they are posted. He's talking about theory, limitations, understanding, multiplicity of theories. The idea that do we even need a theory, or is a theory just sort of a something that people who are academics live in the world of? Right? Do you make decisions ethically based on a theory that you have applied to your life? No. You probably just feel like something's right or wrong and make a decision. Do you cook dinner based on the theory of thermodynamics? No. You probably just put the pot on and turn it up until it boils and drop the pasta in. So that would be an interesting side note to this, I think. Do you even need a theory to understand the world? So is an uneducated person who has never gone to university and school and learned about all these theories unable to understand the world? I think that sounds a little, sort of academic elitist. I think that you would have to say then that before universities and organized education came around, that nobody understood the world. Cavemen didn't understand the world, and yet they survived. So, do you even need to understand the world? Would be a side note, perhaps, and you don't want to get too much into that. Okay? All right.